Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the large window. He had been exploring space for 10 years now, and it never got old. The ship moved quietly through space toward Kepler Prime, a big space station where aliens and humans met to trade and talk. Jake was 35 years old and had short brown hair. He came from Texas and still spoke with a slight accent that made his crew smile. His ship was not the biggest or fastest, but it was reliable. The Defiance had a crew of 48 people, and they had been together for 3 years. "Captain, we're getting close to Kepler Prime," said Lieutenant Commander Ben Carter. Ben was from California and was good with computers and communications. He was Jake's second in command and his best friend. "Good. Send them our arrival message," Jake replied. He was excited about this mission. Earth had been part of the Galactic Commerce Union for 30 years now. Humans had built 12 colonies on different planets and made friends with 7 alien species. Everything was peaceful. Dr. Lisa Grant walked onto the bridge. She was a scientist who studied aliens and how they lived. Lisa was smart and curious about everything. She had blonde hair and blue eyes and always carried a small computer pad. "Captain, I've been reading about the species we'll meet today," she said. "The Hegemony Council is having a special meeting. All 5 of the most powerful alien governments will be there." Jake nodded. The Hegemony Council was like the United Nations, but for aliens. They had kept peace in the galaxy for 300 years. The 5 species in the council were much older and more advanced than humans. They had technology that seemed like magic to most people. The space station appeared ahead of them. Kepler Prime was huge, bigger than most cities on Earth. It spun slowly in space, creating artificial gravity inside. Ships from dozens of different worlds were docked around it. Jake could see the sleek silver ships of the Altari, the crystal ships of the Viridian, and the dark metal ships of the Keth Empire. "Take us to Docking Bay 7, Jake ordered. The ship moved smoothly toward the station. Ambassador Zara Phillips was waiting for them when they docked. She was Earth's top diplomat and had been working with aliens longer than anyone else. Zara was in her 50s, with gray hair, and wore the blue uniform of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. "Jake, I'm glad you're here," she said as they walked through the station corridors. "Something strange is happening. The Hegemony Council called this emergency meeting, but they won't tell anyone what it's about." The corridors of Kepler Prime were filled with beings from across the galaxy. Jake saw the tall, thin Altari with their silver skin and large black eyes. The Viridian looked like walking crystals that changed color with their moods. Were shorter than humans, but much stronger, with thick gray skin. They entered the main assembly hall. It was a huge room with seats for thousands of beings. In the center was a platform where the Hegemony Council would speak. Jake and his crew found seats near the back with other humans. "Look at all these species," whispered Dr. Grant. "I count at least 20 different kinds of aliens here." The lights dimmed, and 5 figures appeared on the central platform. These were the leaders of the Hegemony Council. Jake had seen pictures of them before, but seeing them in person was different. They seemed to glow with power. The first to speak was High Chancellor Vex of the Altari Dominion. His voice was cold and mechanical, translated by computers so everyone could understand. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began. "We have called you here to announce a decision that will affect all worlds." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Something in the alien's voice was wrong. "For 3 centuries, the Hegemony has maintained order and peace," continued the Chancellor. "We have guided the younger species, taught them the proper ways of civilization, and prevented chaos." Ben Carter was recording everything on his communication device. His face looked worried. However, the Chancellor's voice grew harder. "We have discovered a threat to this stability, a contamination that spreads through the galaxy like a disease." "Ambassador." Phillips grabbed Jake's arm. Her face had gone pale. "The species known as humanity has proven itself incompatible with galactic order. Their chaotic nature, their refusal to accept guidance, their dangerous influence on other species, makes them a threat that cannot be ignored." The room erupted in noise. Aliens were making sounds of surprise, anger, and fear. Jake could hear other humans crying out in shock. Dr. Grant dropped her computer pad. Therefore, the Chancellor continued, his voice cutting through the noise, the Hegemony Council has voted unanimously. Humanity is to be eliminated from the galaxy within 1 solar cycle. This is not negotiable. This is not open for discussion. This is the will of the Hegemony. Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Around the room, he could see other humans standing up, shouting, trying to object, but their voices were lost in the chaos. The second council member stepped forward. This was Empress Thal, of the Keth Empire. She was shorter than the others, but radiated authority. Some of you may think this decision is harsh, she said, but humanity has already corrupted 3 species with their ideas of individual freedom and democracy. The Zanari, the Mokari, and the Pelion have all begun to question the natural order. This cannot continue. Dr. Grant managed to pick up her computer pad with shaking hands. Jake, she whispered, they're talking about species that have had a lot of contact with our colonies. The Zanari have been trading with us for 15 years. Ben Carter was frantically trying to send messages to Earth, but his device showed no signal. Captain, they're jamming all communications. Nothing's getting through. The third council member spoke next. It was Prime Construct Zephyr of the Machine Collective. Its voice sounded like metal scraping against metal. Analysis indicates that humanity possesses neural patterns that resist standard control methods. This resistance appears to be transferable to other organic species through prolonged contact. The contamination is spreading. Jake's mind raced. What do they mean by control? Methods. Had the hegemony been controlling other species this whole time? Ambassador Phillips stood up and tried to speak. Honored Council, surely we can discuss this. Humanity has always followed galactic law. We have never threatened anyone. The fourth council member, Speaker Lux of the Energy Collective, responded. Its form was pure light contained in a crystal shell. Discussion is pointless. The decision has been made. We have 1 solar cycle to evacuate human space. After that, our fleets will sterilize every world humanity has touched. The final council member stepped forward. This was Ancient One Nyx of the Void Shepherds, the oldest and most mysterious of the 5 species. It looked like living shadow. Let this serve as a lesson to all species, it said in a voice like whisper of wind. The natural order must be preserved. Chaos must be eliminated. Evolution must be controlled. The 5 council members vanished from the platform, leaving behind thousands of shocked beings. The assembly hall erupted into panic as species began arguing and fleeing. Jake grabbed his crew. We need to get back to the ship, now. As they ran through the corridors, Ben Carter managed to break through the communication, jamming for a few seconds. Captain, I'm picking up massive fleet movements. Hundreds of ships are moving toward human space. They reached the docking bay to find hegemony security forces surrounding all the human ships. Jake counted at least 50 aliens in armor carrying energy weapons. Captain Morrison called out a Keth officer. You and your crew will remain on the station until the cleansing is complete. Jake looked at his ship, then at his crew, then at the thousands of humans trapped on the station. He had to make a choice that would determine who lived and who died. In one terrible moment, Jake Morrison realized that everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy had been a lie. And now, the real war was about to begin. 3 weeks had passed since the declaration at Kepler Prime. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the cargo bay of his ship, staring at the small group of humans and aliens they had managed to rescue. His choice had cost him half his crew, but they had saved over 200 lives before escaping the station. The Defiance now moved through empty space, running silent to avoid hegemony patrols. Jake had torn his uniform and his face showed the weight of command. Ben Carter worked constantly at the communication station, trying to contact Earth or any human colony. Captain Ben called out, his voice tired. I'm getting reports from the outer colonies. It's not good. Jake walked over to the communication console. The reports were brief and terrifying. New Brisbane was under attack. Port Liberty had gone silent. The mining station at Ceres had been destroyed with all hands. Dr. Lisa Grant approached them, carrying her computer pad. Without sleep, trying to understand what the hegemony had meant about human neural patterns. "Jake, I think I know why they want to kill us," she said quietly. "I've been studying the brain scans we took of the alien refugees we rescued. The ones who helped us escape the station all show the same changes." "What kind of changes?" Jake asked. "Their brains are working differently. The areas that control independent thought and creativity are more active. It's like being around humans. Woke something up inside them." Ben suddenly jumped up from his station. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth. It's Admiral Claire Johnson." The main screen flickered to life, showing a woman in her 50s wearing the uniform of the Seoul Defense Fleet. Admiral Johnson looked exhausted and angry. Behind her, Jake could see the busy bridge of a warship. This is Admiral Johnson aboard the UES Vengeance. "To all human ships receiving this message, the hegemony fleet has entered our solar system. We count over 3,000 enemy vessels. We have 200 ships to defend Earth and her colonies." Jake felt his heart sink. 3,000 against 200 was not a battle. It was a massacre. "All civilian ships are ordered to begin evacuation procedures immediately," the Admiral continued. "Military vessels will hold the line as long as possible. This may be our last transmission. Earth command out." The transmission ended, leaving Jake's bridge in silence. Through the window, they could see other human ships in the distance, all heading toward Earth to help with the evacuation. "Set course for Earth. Maximum speed," Jake ordered. "Captain," said Dr. Grant, "we won't make it in time to help with the battle." "No, but we might be able to help with the evacuation." The journey to Earth took 4 days. During that time, they received scattered reports from the battle. The news got worse each day. The hegemony ships were destroying everything in their path. Human weapons barely scratched their shields. When they finally reached the outer edge of the solar system, Jake could see the fires of war lighting up space around Earth. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers against the black sky. Human ships fought desperately, but they were being picked off one by one. "My God," whispered Ben Carter. "Look at the size of those ships." The hegemony vessels were massive, some as big as cities. They moved slowly but with terrible purpose, their weapons reaching out to destroy anything human.
Ow.
Jake watched the UES Liberty explode in a ball of fire. He had friends on that ship. "Captain, I'm receiving evacuation coordinates," reported Ben. "There are transport ships leaving from 12 different locations around Earth." Jake guided the Defiance toward the nearest evacuation point. As they got closer, he could see the desperate scene below. Huge transport ships were loading as many people as they could. Families were being separated. Children were crying. Everyone knew that most of Earth's 8 billion people would not escape. Colonel Rick Patterson was coordinating the evacuation from a command post on the ground. Jake had met him once before at a military conference. Rick was a tough soldier from Georgia who never gave up. "Defiance, this is ground control." Rick's voice came through the radio. "We need you to escort Transport Group 7. They're carrying 2 million civilians." "Understood, ground control." "What's our destination?" "Unknown. Just get them away from here." Jake looked at the massive transport ships. Each one carried 100,000 people. It was all that remained of humanity's birth world. As they began to move away from Earth, the planet grew smaller behind them. Dr. Amy Rogers was aboard one of the transport ships. She had been working in a secret laboratory under the Rocky Mountains when the attack began. Amy was a computer scientist who had been studying something called quantum consciousness. As her transport ship fled from Earth, she watched her life's work burning below. But Amy had managed to save her most important research. Hidden in her backpack was a small device that could change everything. She'd been experimenting with connecting human brains directly to computer systems. The early tests had been promising but dangerous. Dr. Rogers called out Chief Engineer Pete Walsh. He was a big man from Boston who had worked on the transport ship's engines for 15 years. "We need your help. The ship's computer systems are acting strange." Amy followed Pete to the engine room. What she saw there made her heart race. The quantum computers she had installed in several ships before the evacuation were beginning to connect with each other. They were forming a network. "Pete, how many ships have the new quantum computers?" she asked. about 30 of the transport ships, and maybe 50 military vessels that escaped. Amy realized what was happening. The stress and fear of the evacuation was causing the human refugees to unconsciously connect with the quantum systems. Their minds were reaching out, trying to find hope and control in a hopeless situation. Back on the Defiance, Jake was having his own strange experience. As he flew alongside the transport ships, he began to feel like he could sense the other ships around him. It was as if his mind was expanding beyond his own body. "Captain," said Ben Carter, "are you feeling that too?" "What do you mean? It's like I can feel the other ships. Not just see them, but actually feel them." Dr. Grant was studying her instruments with excitement. Quantum fields around the ships are synchronizing, the computers are connecting. But more than that, the people are connecting too. Commander Laura Hughes was leading another group of evacuation ships when she first experienced the full connection. Laura was from Michigan and had been a pilot for 12 years. Her ship moved through space. She suddenly felt like she was flying not just one ship, but all the ships in her group. "This is impossible," she said to her crew. "I can control all 6 ships at once." Her engineer looked at the displays in amazement. "Ma'am, the computers are responding to your thoughts. You're not using the controls anymore." Across the fleeing human fleet, the same thing was happening. People were connecting with their ships in ways that had never been possible before. The trauma of losing Earth was somehow unlocking abilities that humans never knew they had. But the hegemony was not finished with them. As the evacuation fleet moved away from the burning ruins of Earth, massive enemy ships began to follow. The aliens had not expected humans to escape in such numbers, and they intended to finish what they started. "All ships, this is Admiral Johnson," came a transmission from the rear guard. "Enemy fleet approaching. We'll hold them off as long as we can. Keep running." Jake watched as the remaining human military ships turned to face the hegemony fleet. It was a hopeless fight, but it would buy time for the civilians to escape. The Battle of Earth was ending in defeat. But something new was beginning. As the human ships fled into the darkness of space, they carried with them not just the survivors of humanity, but the seeds of something the galaxy had never seen before. Dr. Rogers looked at her quantum device and smiled grimly. The hegemony thought they had won by destroying Earth, but they had actually awakened something in humanity that would change everything. The real war was just beginning, and this time, humans would not be fighting alone. They would be fighting as something new, something the ancient aliens could never have imagined. The evacuation fleet disappeared into the void, carrying with them the future of human evolution. 6 months after Earth burned, the surviving humans had found a new home among the asteroids of the Vega system. General Marcus Stone stood in the command center they had built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. He was a tall man from Colorado with gray hair and steel-blue eyes. Before the war, he had been in charge of Earth's colonial defense forces. Around him, dozens of people worked at computer stations that looked nothing like the old Earth technology. These new systems glowed with soft blue light and responded to thought as much as touch. The quantum computers Dr. Amy Rogers had created were now in every human base. "General, we have a problem," said Major Tony Clark. Tony had been one of the first volunteers for Dr. Rogers' enhancement program. Now he could control 5 different spacecraft at the same time with his mind. His eyes had a strange silver glow that showed he was connected to the quantum network. "What is it, Tony?" Marcus asked. "The hegemony just destroyed New Geneva Colony. 3 million people, all gone. That makes 8 colonies they've wiped out this month." Marcus felt anger burn in his chest. The aliens were not just hunting the survivors from Earth. They were systematically destroying every place humans had ever lived. But each attack was teaching humanity something new about their enemy. Dr. Rogers walked into the command center, followed by engineer Maya Powell. Maya was from Texas and had been working on the asteroid's defense systems. Like Tony, she had undergone the enhancement process. She could now interface directly with any computer system and process information faster than any normal human. "General, we're ready for the next phase," Dr. Rogers announced. "We've perfected the enhancement process." The volunteers won't just be able to control multiple ships anymore. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Maya stepped forward, her enhanced eyes reflecting the blue light of the quantum computers. We can become the ship's general. Our consciousness can exist in multiple places at once. We can be human and machine at the same time. Marcus had seen what the enhanced humans could do, but it still amazed him. The process was dangerous and could not be reversed, but it gave humans abilities that no alien species possessed. How many volunteers do we have? He asked. 200 so far, replied Dr. Rogers. But General, there's something else. We're not the only ones changing. She activated a holographic display showing data from across the galaxy. The alien species that had contact with us are also evolving. The Zanari, the Makari, and the Pelion are all developing resistance to hegemony control. Some of them are even developing enhanced abilities like ours. Marcus studied the data. 3 alien species were openly rebelling against the hegemony. Dozens of others were showing signs of unrest. The galaxy was beginning to wake up from 3 centuries of controlled sleep. Sir, incoming message from Captain Morrison, announced Communications Officer Danny Kim. Danny was from Hawaii and was also enhanced. He could monitor communication channels across half the galaxy simultaneously. Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. He looked older and more worn than when Marcus had last seen him, but his eyes burned with determination. Behind him, Marcus could see the bridge of a ship that looked like it had grown rather than been built. General, my team has good news, Jake reported. We've made contact with a Zanari resistance cell near the Procyon system. They want to join forces with us. It's excellent, Jake. What's their situation? They have 50 ships and about 10,000 fighters. But more importantly, they have information about hegemony fleet movements. The aliens are planning something big. Commander Kate Sullivan appeared beside Jake on the screen. Kate was from Ohio and had been working with alien resistance groups for months. She had become an expert at understanding alien psychology and tactics. General, the hegemony is scared, Kate reported. Our attacks on their supply lines are working. But they're about to launch a major offensive against all the rebel systems. We need to strike first. Marcus nodded. What do you recommend? There's a hegemony patrol fleet at Proxima Drift. 12 ships, all older models. If we can destroy them and broadcast the victory across the galaxy, it might inspire more species to rebel. How many ships can you field? Just 3, sir. One of them will be piloted by Danny Kim's brother, Sergeant Tony Kim. Marcus knew about Tony Kim. He was the most enhanced human they had created so far. Tony could control 20 small fighter ships at the same time, making him a one-man fleet. Do it, Marcus ordered. But be careful. We can't afford to lose you. The transmission ended, and Marcus turned to Dr. Rogers. Amy, how long until we can enhance more volunteers? The process takes 3 days per person, and we can only do 5 at a time. But General, I've been thinking about something bigger. What do you mean? Dr. Rogers looked uncomfortable. I think I can merge completely with the quantum network. Become a guiding intelligence for all enhanced humans. But if I do it, I won't be human anymore. I'll become something else entirely. Marcus felt a chill. What would that mean? It would mean I could coordinate every enhanced human across the galaxy instantly. We could fight as one mind in thousands of bodies. But I would have to give up my individual existence. Before Marcus could respond, Danny Kim called out excitedly. General, incoming transmission from Proxima Drift. It's live footage of the battle. The main screen showed space filled with explosions and laser fire. Large hegemony ships were being attacked by what looked like a swarm of tiny human fighters. But as Marcus watched, he realized it was not a swarm at all. All 20 fighters moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. That's impossible, whispered Maya Powell. No human pilot could control that many ships. On the screen, the hegemony ships tried to defend themselves, but they could not track targets that moved like a living thing. One by one, the alien vessels exploded. In less than 10 minutes, the entire patrol fleet was destroyed. As Sergeant Tony Kim came a voice over the radio. Proxima Drift is clear. broadcasting victory message now. Danny Kim immediately began picking up communications. From across the galaxy, General, it's working. I'm getting signals from rebel groups on dozens of worlds. They're all talking about the human victory. But the celebration was short-lived. Warning alarms began sounding throughout the asteroid base. General, massive fleet detected entering the system, reported the sensor operator. Over 500 hegemony ships, including 3 command vessels. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. The aliens had found their main base. All enhanced personnel, 2 battle stations, he ordered. Evacuate non-essential personnel immediately. As humans ran to their positions, Dr. Rogers grabbed Marcus's arm. General, I need to do it now. It's a full merger with the network. It's the only way we can coordinate a defense against that many ships. Marcus looked at the woman who had given humanity its greatest weapon. Amy, are you sure about this? I've been sure since the day they burned Earth, she replied. Become what humanity needs me to be. Dr. Rogers walked to the central quantum computer and placed her hands on the interface. Blue light began to surround her as her consciousness started to merge with the network. General, she said, her voice already beginning to sound different. Tell all enhanced humans to prepare for total coordination. We're about to show the hegemony what humanity has become. Outside the asteroid, 500 alien ships moved into attack formation. But inside the base, something unprecedented was happening. Every enhanced human in the galaxy was beginning to connect through Dr. Rogers' expanded consciousness. For the first time since the war began, humanity was about to fight as one unified force. The hegemony had come to destroy the last human stronghold, but they were about to discover that humanity was no longer the same species they had tried to eliminate. The real war was about to begin, and this time, humans would not be fighting, alone or unprepared. They would be fighting as something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. The battle for Vega would determine whether humanity's evolution would continue or end in the darkness of space. The battle for Vega lasted 3 days and changed everything. When it was over, the hegemony fleet lay in ruins around the asteroid base. General Marcus Stone stood in the command center, watching the wreckage drift past the windows. 100 enemy ships that had attacked them. Only 12 had escaped. The victory had cost them dearly. Half of the enhanced humans had died in the fighting, their consciousness scattered when their ships were destroyed. But their sacrifice had proven something important. Humanity could win. Dr. Amy Rogers no longer existed as a person. Her consciousness now lived in the quantum network that connected every enhanced human across the galaxy. When she spoke, her voice came from every computer at once. General, her voice echoed through the command center. We have incoming messages from rebel groups across the galaxy. The victory at Vega has inspired them. 23 species are now in open rebellion against the hegemony. Marcus nodded grimly. What about the hegemony response? They're pulling back their fleets to defend their core worlds. But Marcus, I've discovered something in their captured communication logs. The hegemony leaders are planning something terrible. Captain, Jake Morrison entered the command center, his face showing the strain of the recent battle. He had been leading raids against hegemony supply lines for months. His ship, the Defiance, had been rebuilt with the new technology until it was more machine than vessel. General, my scouts report massive fleet movements toward the hegemony capital system, Jake reported. It looks like they're concentrating everything there for a final battle. How many ships? Marcus asked. Over 1 million vessels. Every ship they have is heading to Dominion Prime. Marcus felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. 1,000,000 ships was an impossible number to fight against, even with their new abilities. Amy, what did you find in those communication logs? He asked. Dr. Rogers' voice filled the room, now carrying harmonics that sounded almost musical. Hegemony has a final weapon. If they cannot maintain control of the galaxy, they plan to destroy all life in it. They call it the Void Protocol. What does that mean? Jake asked. They have the ability to collapse the energy field that holds atoms together. If they activate it from Dominion Prime, it will spread across the galaxy like a wave, turning everything into empty space. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Aliens would rather destroy everything than lose their power. How long do we have? Marcus asked. Based on their preparations, maybe 2 weeks before they can activate the weapon. Turn to the holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked hegemony positions, while blue dots showed rebel forces. There were far more red dots than blue ones. Amy, can we reach Dominion Prime with enough force to stop them? With just human ships. But General, the rebel species are offering to unite their fleets with ours. If we can coordinate all of them together, we might have 50,000 ships. 50,000 against 1,000,000, Marcus said quietly. Those are not good odds, Mander. Kate Sullivan walked into the command center, followed by a group of alien beings that Marcus had never seen before. These were representatives from the rebel species, and they all looked determined. General Stone, said the lead alien. A tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms. I am Commander Vex of the Zanari Republic. We bring word from the United Rebel Fleets. What word? Vex asked. We will follow humanity into this final battle. Your species has shown us what freedom means. We would rather die fighting beside you than live as slaves. Another alien stepped forward. This one looked like a walking crystal that changed colors as it spoke. I am Harmony of the Viridian Collective. Our crystal ships can merge with your quantum network. Together, we will be stronger than the sum of our parts. A third alien, shorter and stockier than the others, spoke next. I am Captain Thorne of the Makari Fleet. We have 30,000 ships ready to fight, but more than that, we have learned to resist their control completely. Marcus felt something he had not experienced since Earth burned. Hope. Amy, can you coordinate all these different species through the quantum network? Yes, General. In fact, that's exactly what I was designed to become. I can be the voice that unites every conscious being in this fight. Over the next 10 days, the greatest fleet in galactic history assembled in the empty space between star systems. 50,000 ships from 25 different species. All connected through the quantum network that Dr. Rogers had become. Jake Morrison found himself commanding a squadron of ships from 6 different species. His enhanced consciousness could coordinate not just human vessels, but alien ones as well. The barriers between species were dissolving as they prepared for the final battle. Jake, came Dr. Rogers' voice in his mind. I need to tell you something. Before we reach Dominion Prime, what is it, Amy? The hegemony leaders are not the original rulers of the galaxy. I've been analyzing their historical records. They were slaves once, just like the species they control now, as they broke free from their masters thousands of years ago, but instead of ending the cycle, they continued it. Jake felt a chill of understanding. You mean this has all happened before? Many times? Species rise up, gain freedom, then become oppressors themselves, but this time can be different. Humanity has the ability to break the cycle permanently. How? By choosing not to rule, by teaching instead of controlling, by helping consciousness evolve instead of limiting it. The rebel fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Dominion Prime system. What they saw there defied imagination. The hegemony had gathered every ship from across their empire. The enemy fleet stretched from one side of the system to the other, a wall of metal and energy that seemed impossible to breach. At the center of the system was Dominion Prime itself, a planet-sized space station that pulsed with dark energy. That was where the Void Protocol weapon waited. All ships, this is General Stone. Marcus broadcast to the entire fleet. We are not here to conquer. We are here to liberate. Every being in that enemy fleet is a slave, just as we were slaves. Some of them just don't know it yet. The battle that followed lasted for hours and was fought as much in the realm of consciousness as in physical space. Enhanced humans coordinated with alien allies, their minds linked through the quantum network. Ships moved like flocks of birds, each vessel knowing instinctively what the others would do. But the hegemony had one final surprise. As the rebel fleet fought its way toward Dominion Prime, the enemy leaders activated a new weapon. A psychic scream that was meant to paralyze every thinking being in the system. The weapon had been designed to work on the old forms of consciousness, the controlled minds that the hegemony understood. But it had no effect on the enhanced humans, or the awakened aliens. Instead, something unexpected happened. The psychic scream was turned back on itself. becoming a liberation frequency that Dr. Rogers broadcasts throughout the galaxy. Every controlled mind, every enslaved consciousness, suddenly woke up to its own potential. On ships throughout the hegemony fleet, crews began to remember what freedom felt like. Species that had been controlled for centuries suddenly realized they had a choice. One by one, enemy ships began to switch sides or simply stop fighting. The hegemony leaders, faced with the collapse of everything they had built, made their final desperate move. They began to activate the Void Protocol, preferring to destroy all life rather than lose their power. But they had underestimated what consciousness could become when it was truly free. Every awakened mind in the galaxy, human and alien alike, joined together through the quantum network. Billions of conscious beings focused their will on a single purpose: to choose life over destruction. The Void Protocol weapon, designed to unravel the bonds that held atoms together, instead became something else entirely. The combined will of all conscious life transformed it into a creation field, a wave of energy that spread new possibilities throughout the NDA. Galaxy Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship as the wave passed through them. He felt his consciousness expand beyond anything he had ever imagined. Around him, he could sense every other awakened being in the galaxy. All connected but still individual, all free but still united. "Amy," he said, "what have we become?" "We have become what consciousness was always meant to be," came her reply. Now speaking through every quantum computer in the galaxy, free to grow, free to choose, free to evolve. The hegemony leaders, their weapon turned against their purpose. Their fleets converted or defeated, made one final attempt to maintain control. But they found themselves facing something they had never encountered before: the united will of truly free minds. In the end, they were not destroyed. Instead, they were offered what they had never given to others: a choice. They could join the new galactic community as equals, or they could exile themselves to the outer reaches of space. Most chose to join. After millennia of being rulers and slaves, they were finally offered the chance to simply be free. The war was over, but Jake Morrison knew that something far more important had begun. As he looked out at the stars, he could feel the consciousness of billions of beings all choosing their own paths, all connected, but all free. Humanity had been declared extinct, and in a way, they had been right. The old humanity was gone.